Okay, R.E.M, Feeling Gravity's Pull, no apostrophe, and if you're a grammatical pedant, then R.E.M are a band that will drive you mad. And would you believe it, this song presents another opportunity for me to break out the chorus pedal, yeah! And we have some lovely guitar work from Mr. Peter Buck, and he's a real favourite of mine, and I think he's probably the definition of an underrated player. He's a kind of 80s guitar anti-hero, never takes a solo, there's no ego about him, he just plays perfectly formed guitar parts that fit the songs perfectly. Now this song, Feeling Gravity's Pull, is taken from R.E.M's third album, Fables of the Reconstruction, and it's a favourite R.E.M album of mine. I've got a few favourite R.E.M albums I think, but this one is a really good one, and I'm particularly fond of it because it was recorded just down the road from me in North London, a place called Livingston Studios, which is a great studio. I've had the pleasure of recording there a couple of times myself. And the album was produced by the legendary Joe Boyd, who you might have heard of, a renowned producer. He produced a lot of the British folk stuff in the 70s, so Fairport Convention, all the Nick Drake records, and John Martin, I think, as well. Anyhow, shall we have a look at how this song is played? We've got that really nice, weird opening riff, and then we've got some lovely arpeggiated chord work as well. Let's take a look. Okay, kicking off with this main riff then. And what a great riff it is, really like the dissonance and weirdness of it. And it starts up here at the 7th fret on the low E string, just playing that B note. Then we've got some muted notes. And it seems to be this is played on the muted G string, so I'm just laying my fingers resting over the strings and playing the G down up with the pick. Don't think you need to be too precise with this. Sometimes the muted notes seem to be on the D or sometimes on a couple of strings, but I'm doing it on the G. So then we're playing that low B note one more time. Then we've got some harmonics. At the 7th fret I'm playing harmonic at the 7th fret on the low E string, and then I'm just playing some of the other strings, so maybe the A, D and G, again harmonics at the 7th fret, so it's the low E and then some of the others. Then we're repeating the first bit again, so it's B, muted notes, B, and then we've got open low E string, maybe an open A string as well, and then some harmonics at the 5th fret. And again on the 5th string, 4th string, 3rd string, you don't need to be too precise. So if I put all of that together slowly, we have so you might not need to be quite as precise as that. If you listen closely to the recording, it varies slightly as he plays it, repeats it throughout the song, so no need to be super precise there. Moving on to the next bit of the song, and I'm going to call this the chorus. I'm not sure exactly what the correct term for this bit of the song is, but anyway, it's the bit that sounds like this. It's just a nice series of arpeggiated chords. We're starting with kind of an E minor sound. We've got open low E and then the 2nd fret on the A string, and then we've got a pair of open strings. We've got the open B and then the open G. So, and then all that's happening is we're moving the bass notes up and the open B and G are staying the same. So the next chord is this. This is like an F sharp power chord. We've got 2nd fret on the low E, 4 on the A, those two open strings, moving that shape up by 1 fret and picking the same strings, and then moving up one more time. This time we're moving up 2 frets to like an A power chord, and then we're just repeating that. And I'm finding it makes it a bit easier for me if I finger that first chord with my 3rd finger. and then that sets me up nicely for the second shape. And picking wise, what works best for me, I think, is to go down, down, up, up. And you just want to try and get all of those notes ringing nicely together. So we just repeat those 4 chords over for the chorus. And there's just a slight variation, I think, in the second chorus, just before you go into the bridge, which goes like this. And it's just a slight variation on the last chord. So when you get up to this A shape, we're just playing the low E string and then 3 open strings, just the open E, B and G. It's just the last time you get up to that A. And that leads us into what I'm going to call the bridge of the song. Now the bridge section is classic Peter Buck, a lovely kind of Birdsian arpeggiated part. Goes like this. So what we've got here, really, it's just going between a C chord, just a standard open position C, and a D sus2. This is just like a D chord, but you're lifting up the note you usually fret with your second finger and allowing the open top string to ring. So you get that kind of nice sound. It's a nice kind of atmospheric variation on a D chord. Now the important thing here is the arpeggio pattern. Now the pattern I'm going to show you is this one. I think on the recording, if you listen closely, there's at least 2 guitars playing similar things but not exactly the same, so there are variations in the picking pattern, but I think this one seems to work the best for me. And the pattern is this. I'm just going to call out the string numbers here. So we're playing 5 and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And it's an 8-note rhythm, so that gives you 8 notes. It all fits into the space of 1 bar. You've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And I like to pick this down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up. There's not necessarily a right or a wrong way to pick this. That's just what works for me. And I think it's important that you decide on something that works and something that flows. Otherwise, you're not going to get that nice flow and accuracy. So that's the basic pattern. Then we're going to do the same pattern on the D sus2. So that the picking pattern is exactly the same, except you're playing the root note on the 4th string instead of the 5th string. So the strings are now 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And that's really it. We're just going 1 bar of C, 1 bar of D, and just repeating that. There's a final chord which is a little bit hard to hear on the recording. In the end I went for this, which is a kind of, it's a way of playing a B sus4. I've got the B note here, 2nd fret on the A, and then 4th fret on the D and G, and the 2 open top strings. So that the last time through you just resolve to that chord. So that's the essence of this bridge part. There's one other nice little bit you can throw in, and I don't know if Peter Buck does this every time, but there's just a little melody kind of hiding in there, which follows the vocal, which he sometimes does, which is this. We've got so it's on the C chord. You're breaking away from the normal pattern and you're going. So we're playing the 5th string and then 1, 2, 3 as before, but then we're playing it's C to D on the B string, open high E, and then back to this D note. And then you're holding that down as we go into the D chord. Really pretty part, that, I think. Okay, let's move on to the end section of the song, the outro. And I almost chickened out with this bit. It's really weird and really hard to hear exactly what's going on. If you watch live videos, Peter Buck doesn't play it like he does on the record, and he seems to do a slightly different thing every time. But I persevered, and I think I've got more or less to the bottom of what's going on here. Let me play it for you, and it is pretty weird, I think. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So pretty weird stuff, and you don't have to play it exactly like that. That's just what I think I'm hearing on the original recording. The essence of it is we're going from a C to a B, 2 bars on each, repeating that, and then at the end it's going to a D and then to a B. But we've got lots of kind of dissonance, open strings, and kind of a weird little melody high up the neck. So it's really a lot of this kind of thing. I'm just playing a C note and an open top string. Some fairly random open strings. Maybe dropping down to the B note at the 2nd fret on the A string. Then I'm playing this melody on the B string. And at the same time I'm just allowing the open high E string to ring out. So and more random open strings. Going way up to the 20th fret here. And then for the D chord, I'm just playing this F sharp and D here, and finishing on a B major bar chord. There we go. Pretty weird, but that's what I think is going on, maybe. So the gear I'm using today, the guitar is my Telecaster, which is a 52 reissue from the 90s. I know Peter Buck is mostly associated with Rickenbackers, but I think you can get some good R.E.M. type sounds out of a Telecaster, and I think I'm right in saying that Peter Buck sometimes used a Telecaster in the studio, particularly on some of the earlier R.E.M. stuff. Pedal wise, today it is Boss all the way. I'm using the OD3 overdrive, just set for a little bit of overdrive, and then from that I'm going into an 80s CE2 chorus pedal. I was thinking about trying a little bit of compression on this one, but that didn't seem to work, and I think generally I don't use compression that much, particularly with an overdriven sound. It seems to kind of choke up the sound and muddy it up a little bit, which wasn't really happening for me today. Amp wise, I'm using the Vox AC30, which is against a 90s reissue AC30 blue speakers. So that's Feeling Gravity's Pull. I hope you enjoy learning to play the song. I think in particular this is a good one to work on if you want to improve your picking hand accuracy when you're arpeggiating chordal parts. And I think that's a skill that most of us could probably do with working on. I know it's something that I'm trying to improve in my own playing at the moment. tab and music will be up on the old Patreon page if you're interested in checking that out. Thank you for watching. I shall see you next time. Bye bye.